Hello everyone, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I am here with the books that I read in September, but like, did I actually read anything? Oh my god, this month, I don't know what was up. I was just having a hard time doing anything. I was feeling like stressy, depressy. I was not able to read very much. My normal interests just like weren't interesting me. It was a rough month for some reason. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Just, you know, my head didn't want to, my brain didn't want to be kind to me, which is rather rude. But I am feeling a little bit better. Not that like I didn't feel good. I was just like, I don't know, just not feeling anything, you know? But I'm feeling better. I don't know. I didn't mean to go into this big long thing, but I only finished 4 books this month, which I can't even tell you the last time. I read so little in a month, and like, you know, for some people 4 books is a lot, and that is great. Like any amount of books is great. But it's just not, it's not me. It's not me normally. Normally I'm always reading, but I really haven't picked up a book in like a week and a half. And that's wild for me. I don't know. It's just been so weird. I put down 3 books that I started this month. Like, that does not happen to me normally. But, so I haven't read it purposely in a week and a half or something because I'm trying to just, you know, let my brain relax. I'm trying not to be hard on myself about this because reading is supposed to be enjoyable. And so like, if my brain is not working with me and not able to enjoy it right now, I'm just gonna let it be, right? So I'm gonna be okay. I am excited to pick up the stuff that I have planned for October, but that will be another video, obviously. So anyway, I do have my stats, my little tiny baby stats for September. Let's see. Okay, so total books this month. I read 4 books. There was 4 books that I read and I finished. There was 1 book that I read, I don't know, I read more than 100 pages into each of these books that I decided to put down. So I read, I think, like 126 pages into a book that I decided to DNF. And then there were 2 other books that I got into, and I'm thinking like maybe I might try to get back to them at some point. So they'll just be on hold until, you know, my brain wants to do that again. So out of those, 3 of those books were off of my TBR. So 2 of the books I finished and the book that I DNF'd, I'm counting in that as off of my TBR. And then 2 of the books that I finished were rereads, which is probably honestly why I was able to finish those 2 books, because like my brain knows what they are. I know the story. I know that I like the story, and I was able to get through them. And yeah, so rereads are, I feel like rereads are great for reading slumps, right? If you know that you love the book. I don't know, maybe just for me. But anyways, the amount of pages I read this month, here's my pointer, 2,558 pages, which is about 85 pages per day. I have a goal this year to read 40,000 pages. Last month, my total number left in that goal was 4,600. So if you take away what I read this month, I have 2,042 pages. And you know what? Maybe this is what I get, because I'm pretty sure last month when I filmed my wrap up, I was like, 4,600, I could do that in a month. The genres I read this month, 2 were horror, 4 were fantasy, and 1 was Southern Gothic. The years these books were published, let's see. The oldest book I read this month was published in 1989. I read a book from 2005, 1 from 2013, 1 from 2014, 1 from 2016, and then we jumped to 2020 and 2022. Most of these books ended up being from series this month, so that is something I'm trying to be at least like more aware of. Like if I'm reading series, I don't just want to read the first book and forget about it and then have to reread the first book over and then forget about it and then reread the first book over like 5 years later and then, you know, have to do that same thing. Because it's just what I do. So the book that I ended up DNFing this month was from a series, so that's DNF'd. I'm not continuing on with that series. One was a series I was rereading, and now I'm finished with that and it's wrapped up. One was a continuation of a series I've been reading, and two of the books that I started and put on hold are the beginning of series. I think, actually it might just be one. I'll have to look and see if this is part of a series. I just assumed it was because it was a fantasy book, but I'm not sure actually. Anyway, all 7 were physical and all 7 were novels. Novel length. Oh my gosh, my brain. It's just like, it's not been great. So I'm gonna talk about everything here, whether or not I finished it, because it would be a very boring wrap up if I didn't. And like I still have thoughts about these books, even if I didn't finish them. So this first one here is Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. This was published in 2013. And this is the start to a series that has a couple books. This book is a fantasy book, and it has such an interesting premise, and the protagonist is really interesting too. This is about Thomas Senlin, and he's like a school teacher at a very small school in a very small village, and he's just recently gotten married, and they're taking a honeymoon trip to see the Tower of Babel. And this is like not set quite in our world. It seems, I don't know, I'm not even sure exactly how to describe like the time period it feels like, because it's not like medieval. They definitely don't have like technology like we do, you know what I mean? And the Tower of Babel is so interesting. It's like, you know, this tower, and each level is like a different thing. And I only got to where he was in the 2nd level before I put this down. So I don't really know what well, actually I think he's on the 3rd level. Anyway, so the whole point of this fucking book, what I should be telling you about, is that Thomas accidentally becomes separated from his wife, and he can't find his wife. And the Tower of Babel is like absolutely fucking chaotic. This book, it was so interesting, but I was just having such a hard time reading it. And I don't really know why. So I'm chalking this up to like just my head not being in its normal headspace, I guess, which is why I'm hoping to continue on with this, because I am curious to know like what other surprises Babel has for Senlin. And he is just such a, I don't know, he's kind of a church mousey, you know? He's just kind of proper and not very outspoken. He is expecting things to be a certain way and is very like perturbed that they're not that way. And so he's a very interesting character who's, you know, when he's thrust into this place that is just like I said, like absolute chaos. It's bananas. And even talking about it, I'm like, oh, why didn't I push on with this? But I don't know, you know, I tried. I read more than 100 pages into this. Let's see, how far did I get? 123 pages, and I just had to put it down. So hopefully I'll get back to this one at some point. It was interesting. Next, I would like to tell you about The Nightly Disease by Max Booth III. This was published in 2016, and this book I did finish this month. This is about a man named Isaac who has the night shift at a hotel, so he's the night auditor. And let me tell you, he is a strange duck. He's like already kind of strange. He's definitely kind of a lone wolf type of character. He works. That's what he does. He works and he goes home and he sleeps, and then he wakes up and he works. And he doesn't love his job. But basically, Isaac gets tangled up in this crime. And it's like this one thing happens and it turns into a snowball of like shit he gets himself into, and it just keeps growing. It's rolling down the hill. It's rolling down the shit hill. This shit snowball is rolling down the shit hill, and it's just collecting more and more shit, and like Isaac cannot extract himself from this shit bowl that he's in the center of, you know, and it is funny. I mean, I really like Max Booth's writing. He is so fucking funny, and I just like kept taking pictures of like quotes in this book so that I could write them down later. Wait, I'm gonna read you one. It's so dumb I accidentally threw my phone across the room. So it says, I peek around the trash can. The snake hasn't moved in several minutes. It's just hanging out in the shape of a ball, taking a nap. I point at the snake like a stern teacher might to a disobedient student. Hey! Hey you! No loitering! The snake does not respond. Are you listening to me, you stupid snake? I said no loitering. It's against the rules. What, do you want me to call the police? Because I will. I will call the police and they will take you away to snake jail. Is that what you want? Oh my gosh, it's so fucking dumb. It's so hilarious. So yeah, it's just comical, tense at some points, very strange at some points, sad and gruesome at some points. And it was a really great book. I really, I mean, but also I like Max Booth's writing, and I know, you know, just like every author, like some people don't. So if you know you're not gonna like this, if you know you don't like his writing, like definitely don't go into this, because this is, I feel like, the most Max Booth that I've read so far. This is only the third one I've read, but I mean, don't set yourself up for a book that you won't like, but I thought this was hilarious and weird. Next up is Gates of Paradise by V.C. Andrews. This was published in 1989, and this one is the like end of the Castile series, kind of. There's like one prequel book, just, I mean, all the family drama series that V.C. Andrews has written has the same template where it's like the main character for 3 books and then like their child and then like a prequel for like somebody in that family, like in Flowers in the Attic, I believe it's like the mother, her mother, and in this one I believe it's also like Heaven's mother. But in this 4th book here, this one follows Heaven's daughter, Annie, and she is in an accident and she's paralyzed. Okay, it does say, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't spoiling anything, but Annie is orphaned. Her parents have died in a car accident, and so Annie is forced to go live with her step-grandfather, Tony, I guess he would be step-great-grandfather? Anyway, and Tony's got a few like loose marbles knocking around up there, so it's not exactly a pleasant stay for Annie. And this one, I think of all the Castile books, this one is definitely the one that like is actually a little bit scary, because the main character in this is so vulnerable, like not just emotionally but physically. And so it's not a bad book, but it definitely does not have the charm that like the Heaven books have, I feel like. So I don't know. I mean, this is just me reading a lot of V.C. Andrews, and people who don't read V.C. Andrews are probably like, I don't know what the fuck you mean. But like people who do, maybe you know what I mean. I've read these books so many fucking times and maybe that shows. But yeah, this one's okay. It's just like, it's okay because, like I said, it's actually a little bit like tense and you worry about this character and what's gonna happen to her, but it's not quite as good as like the Heaven books. All right, next is another book I reread this month. This is The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, and this was published in 2005. I read this probably just a few years after it came out. This is, it feels, okay, this edition of this book is 909 pages, which is bananas. I feel like I read an almost 1,000-page book this month. That doesn't seem quite right, but it goes down so easy, just the writing and the style, because, oh, you've just got, it's like a story within a story within a story. It's like 3 stories layered on top of each other. And so this is written as if the author is telling you the story about her life. But I don't think Elizabeth Kostova was hunting Dracula, but I could be wrong. So this is about the narrator and her father. The young woman's father, the narrator's father, does like history stuff, right? He's like a history professor. And he starts to tell her the story of kind of like how he met her mother, because her mother is gone, and she doesn't know, everyone presumes her mother's dead, and she remembers nothing of her mother. And so her father's like kind of telling this story, but like it turns out that this story like involves him hunting for Vlad Tepes, and it's so weird. So I mean, Dracula, he's hunting Dracula, and in this book Vlad Tepes is Dracula. It's not like Bram Stoker's Dracula where Dracula is his own person. It's like Vlad Tepes is Dracula, you know what I mean? So he's telling his daughter the story of like how he met her mother and how he became involved with this hunt for Dracula's burial place. And he can't tell her like flat out. He can't just like sit her down and tell her in one sitting what happened. It's like she gets these small tidbits, small pieces of the story throughout, I don't know, maybe months, maybe years. And before he has a chance to finish his tale, he goes missing, and she goes on the hunt for him. And, you know, inadvertently also on the hunt for Vlad Tepes. And so this is such a really beautifully written, like, gothic horror story. It's very light on the horror, but it's definitely there. I mean, we're dealing with an undead person. It's such a great book. I'm so glad that I reread this. Then I read the third book in the Raven Cycle series. I feel like I've been talking about this so much lately. This came out in 2014. This is, like I said, the third book in the Raven Cycle. And that's basically about, the first book at least, The Raven Boys, is about this unlikely ragtag group who kind of all, because like their enigmatic leader, Gansey, is interested in like this dead, I think it's Celtic king, like this legend of this Celtic king who is somehow buried in America, in North America, in the United States of America. He's trying to find his grave, basically. And it really involves like a lot of like earth magic and like paranormal stuff and I don't know. It's just, it's so hard to explain, but every book gets more and more wild. And I think my favorite part about this series is that in each book, there's kind of like a new character introduced, and they're very important to the story, but they don't like take over the story, but they just like add to the story in such a nice way. And in this one, the guy's kind of villainous, and he has this like partner, and they're just like so evil and like hilarious at the same time. And I don't know how she creates these, I don't know how she does it. It's like she takes a little piece of paper and somehow makes it into like a 3D, you know, 360 degree view of this character that shouldn't be so fleshed out, and yet she does it so well. It's so crazy, and these books are so great, and I'm gonna be sad when I finish the fourth one. Okay, next book, the one that I DNF'd this month. This is Harrow the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. This came out in 2020, and holy shit, I have no fucking idea what was going on in this book. I don't know, honestly. I don't even remember. I'm looking at this, like, I was trying to look earlier to count it with my pages, because I wanted to count the pages that I read in these, even if I didn't finish them. And I was pretty sure I got to chapter 10, which is 127 pages in, but honestly, I have no fucking idea. I'm reading through this, like, trying to remember where I was in this book, and none of it is familiar to me. None of it makes sense. None of it's familiar. What the fuck happened in this book? I don't know. I mean, I didn't finish it, and I'm not going to finish it, and I'm not going to continue on with the series. And that makes me really bummed out, because something about this is so very interesting. And I should tell you a little bit about it. The first book, at least, Gideon the Ninth, is about Gideon, who becomes something called a cavalier. she has to go with the like leader of her house, and they're in the 9th house, and like the houses are fucking planets, and they're all necromancers, but they all do like a different sort of necromancy. And they're the heads of the houses all have their cavaliers, and they're all supposed to go to like this other place, and it's kind of like a competition, but there's like also a murder mystery. And that book was interesting enough, even though it was hard to follow. It was hard to follow, and I was left liking it but feeling very confused. And so I thought, well, maybe in the second book, like, some things will get cleared up and it will make more sense to me. But no, this makes absolutely no fucking sense. Like, there's no reason I should read 100 and something pages into a book and not know what's going on, even... And it's a second book in a series. Like, why do I have no idea what's happening here? And I did see some reviews talk about like how, you know, the second half reveals things and, you know, makes it more understandable. But like, why should I have to read into the second half of a book to know what's going on? I mean, this is a thick book. I have to read 200 pages of this not knowing what's happening. I mean, I can't even I'm so confused by what's happening that I can't even tell you what the fuck was going on. What? Oh my god. So, that's Harrow the Ninth. I should stop talking about it. I really wished I liked it. There is necromancy. It's like creepy and weird, but it is so confusing. I don't know what's happening, which I just can't. My brain has to make sense of things. I can't just be... I don't know, maybe, I just don't know. I can't be along for the ride. I can't be that fucking clueless about what I'm reading, I guess. So last book here is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. This is another one that I ended up putting down. I just like was not feeling it. I kept picking it up and it's readable, but there are quite a few like points of view that we're following, and it was hard for me to remember who was what and what they did and who they were, because it's like these witches, and some of them are part of like what seems to be more like a government controlled coven almost. Maybe not government controlled, but like government sanctioned, like they get funding from the government. And then some of these witches are part of a like not so prominent coven, and so they all do like different magic and stuff like that. Everyone has their own powers, and it was really hard for me to follow. But I think the main point of this book is that there is this prophecy about this child who is going to be very powerful and is like, I don't know if they're going to become a demon that will like end the world, or if they are that demon in disguise right now. But they think they've found who that might be, and it's like a teenage boy. You know, someone's like tasked in seeing if that will happen for sure, you know, because they don't know if the prophecy can be changed or not. So that's about as much as I read in that. I don't know what to... I don't think the writing didn't catch me as like exceptional. It wasn't terrible. But it wasn't exceptional, and it was hard for me to remember who was who and how they were related to people, because there are also like, some of these people have siblings and stuff, and it was just, I think it was another book where it was just too much for my brain to process, I guess, this month. So I'm hoping that in the future, this will be a book that I pick up again and I'll finish. I got about... Man, I really got just about the same distance in all of these books that I DNF'd. This one was 150 pages. So I feel like I gave it a good try, but I just like wasn't feeling it. And I think I needed to give my brain a break. So I did that. And I think my brain is grateful, but I do like miss sitting down and reading. It's just like I wasn't able to concentrate really. I was having to read things over and over. I wasn't really making progress in books, and it was starting to like feel bad. It was starting to be like, what's wrong with you, brain? And I think brain just needed a fucking break. So that's what I read and what I kind of read in September. Boy, am I hoping October is different. That's what I have for you today. I'd love to know if you've read any of these, if you finished any of the books that I didn't this month. Like, what did you think about them? Are they worth picking up again? I don't think I'll be picking Harrow up again, but I'd love to know if you've read that. Like, did you have the same problem? Did you finish it? What did you think about it? Have you read I think the final book came out recently. I'd love to know if you read any like really stellar books this month. Thanks for watching though, you guys. I will see you later. Goodbye.